Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maika, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is my hobby YouTube channel, and on this channel I like to chat about makeup and fashion related topics. Mainly makeup and eyeshadow palettes is usually my jam, but I thought we could change it up and we can talk foundations for a change. So what you're looking at right now is my entire foundation collection. And last year I actually did this more in-depth look into my makeup collection with my blushes, bronzers, and highlighters, and people seem to really enjoy it. So I thought I could do that again and also rope in some other categories. And I don't really talk about foundation that much. I kind of just show you what I use, but I never really do any dedicated foundation reviews unless it's on my blog. So I have reviews up for a lot of these things, so I'll make sure to link as much as I can in the description box down below if you're looking for swatches or what these look like on my face, what the texture is like, what the coverage is like. I have information on a lot of these, so I'll make sure to link you to that. And if there's any videos that I have with some of these, because I do have some dedicated reviews up, then I'll make sure to put those in the description box as well. But yeah, I just thought we could chat about foundations and do a few swatches here and there and just have a grand old rant about all things foundation, because it's not a topic I usually talk about, and I just thought we have to talk about it. Now, before we get to these foundations though, you need to know two things. And that's that I have dry/dehydrated skin that's got a bit of texture, dry patches, which means that I prefer a sheer coverage, lightweight, dewy textured foundation. That's what you're gonna see a lot of today. If you just look at these, then probably that's what you can already tell. And I have a pretty fair skin tone. In fact, I am someone who's fair enough that when I sometimes buy the lightest shade in a shade range, that it's still too dark for me. It's getting better, I'm not gonna lie. It's getting a little bit better, but I'm at that light end of the spectrum where a lot of foundation ranges, especially at the drugstore, don't always have the shade I need, and also not the undertone that I need. I have a neutral undertone in my skin, and that also means that if a foundation is too yellow or too pink, it can also look a little bit strange. So I just thought we could chat about foundation today. So let's get started. So I've laid everything out for you with my more affordable things over on this side roughly, and then on this side we have the more expensive things. And in foundations, I tend to favor more expensive foundations over drugstore. I love trying drugstore foundations, don't get me wrong. I love trying them out and seeing what's on offer, especially if it's Essence and Catrice. However, shade ranges are usually not great for me, and I also feel that undertones and textures at the drugstore aren't always the best. So that's why I tend to favor more expensive things when it comes to my foundations. And in here we also have a couple where I've either repurchased the exact same product or I've repurchased a similar product from the same brand because I used it up and I liked it so much. Because I do use up about 3 or 4 foundations every single year, and I also declutter quite a bit if I'm like, this is getting a little old or I'm not getting the use out of it, then it gets to go. So what I have right now is what I've gathered in like the past couple of years. This definitely wasn't bought all in one go. I know it may seem a little excessive for someone who barely talks about foundation to have this much. But yeah, if I have a foundation that I love, I repurchase it. That's how we work. So let's start favorites, because I think that's a good place to start. And I always mention these two because I feel they are pretty much the same product. YSL is owned by L'Oreal as a company, so that's why there are a lot of products in the L'Oreal, sometimes also the Maybelline line, that are very close to things that are going on in the YSL line. And I feel that's the case for the All Hours foundation and the Infallible 24-hour fresh wear. I actually do have a dedicated video up where I compare these two in a wear test. So if you would like to see that, I'll make sure to link it in the eye if I don't forget it up there. But actually the whole card system seems to be changing, so I'll make sure to put a link in the description box down below as well, so you can always find it. This is in the shade BR20, and this is in the shade 20 Ivory. and I feel the shades are pretty identical. You do need to know though that both of these do oxidize, so I do feel that you need to get a slightly lighter shade than you might think, because they do change color. But this is my pick for a long-lasting, long-wearing, more heavy-duty foundation. These are not my everyday, this is what I want to wear to work kind of foundations. These are the things I wear when I go out dancing and it needs to stay on all night. Another one that I always label as a favorite is the IT Cosmetics CC cream, and I love this stuff. I actually repurchased this after using it up earlier in the year, and I kind of wanted to have this so that if I were to do like a foundation collection video as I'm doing today, that I could talk about it, because I just love this stuff so much. It is for such a dewy texture. I do find it has a more medium coverage, but I love using this in the winter time because it does have that skincare property. And I feel that it just kind of helps my skin in the wintertime when it's extra dry. I have this in the lightest shade, which is fair, and IT Cosmetics is one of those brands where you're gonna struggle finding your shade match, especially if you have a deeper skin tone, I'm afraid. And also this, it is, for me, it is on the deeper end of what I can get away with, I have to say. I wish the brand would come out with a more extended shade range, and that there is also going to be like 1 or 2 shades lighter than fair. 2 other foundations that I think are quite comparable and that I do both enjoy, and it's the Zoeva Authentik Skin and the Anastasia Luminous foundation. And these foundations I also did a dedicated video with, so again, you can check that out in the description box if you'd like to see them. I do a side-by-side wear test with these as well, and I really like these. They are more dewy, again, perhaps a little bit more on the medium coverage side than like truly like skin tint, very sheer. But again, a great wintertime foundation for me when I feel my skin just needs a little bit extra. But they have great wear time and they are really nice and dewy as well. I have the Anastasia one in 130N and the Zoeva one in 030N Ambition. So these are 2 lovely foundations and I highly recommend picking up one of these. Continuing with some drugstore then, because I do also want to chat about some like affordable things that I like, and something I really liked was the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. I have this in the shade Fair 4N and I really like this product. I tried both of the No Filter and the Pretty Fresh foundation from Colourpop, and those were my favorite. This I liked a lot more. This really impressed me. I actually put it in my list of like favorite base products I tried in 2020. This was really successful for me. It's a really good, more lightweight base. I like the shade of this. I like the wear time of this. I really like the way this sat on my skin, and this comes in a really good shade range. Colourpop can be hard to find if you are in Europe. I get it from the official Colourpop website, in case you're wondering. Speaking of a foundation that I repurchased, this is the MAC Waterweight foundation in the shade NC15, and this is a really good, like very watery foundation. It has one of those droppers, and it is a very watery texture that's very runny on the back of your hand. I used this up completely and I repurchased it because I was going to do a full face of MAC, and I'm really not sad that I had to repurchase it because it is a lovely foundation. I could go through this again in a heartbeat. I just know it. This is the kind of texture I love. If you want a really good idea of what I prefer in a foundation, then this pretty much has everything going for it. It's dewy, it's very watery, lightweight. This is a great everyday foundation, and I just really like it. A foundation that I'm not sure you can still buy, and this is actually on the to use up pile after I use up this guy. So this is going to be a foundation that is on my list to use up because I don't think I believe it's been discontinued. And it's the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea foundation. This is in the shade Fair Beige, and I feel that this is very similar to the MAC. It has a dropper style applicator as well. It has that very watery texture, and I get lots of compliments when I wear this. I just want to make sure I use this up before it expires. And a more affordable, very watery option is the Ordinary Serum foundation. I have this in the shade 1.1N, and in terms of shade match, I don't think there is a foundation that is as great of a shade match as this is. because it has that neutral undertone. And a lot of foundation ranges actually come in warm tones or cool tones, but very often the neutral tones, and also if you have an olive tone skin tone, it can be really, really difficult to find a good match. And The Ordinary does cool, warm, and neutral, and I'm not sure if they do anything that's a bit more green toned as well, but I love this foundation. It's actually about halfway gone. It is in my Shop My Stash because I'm trying to use this up. Two other more affordable foundations that are currently in my Shop My Stash because I wanted to try them out a little bit are the Catrice True Skin Foundation in the shade 010 Cashmere Cool and the Essence Fresh and Fit Foundation in the shade 05 Fresh Porcelain. These are actually not new to me foundations. I have tried both of these in the past. However, the True Skin I bought in a new shade to see if it was better for me because I felt that because I had bought a shade that was too light actually, which hardly ever happens to me, that if I went a shade up that maybe I liked it better. And with the Fresh and Fit, it was actually reformulated. So these two foundations I have tried in the past, so these aren't necessarily brand new to me. I kind of knew going into it what I could expect. And I now like the True Skin a lot better now that I have it in a different shade. Now I think this is actually my favorite Catrice foundation. I now get what the hype is about, which I didn't before. And the Essence Fresh and Fit is nice, but like the one that I've tried before, I feel it's not perfect. However, this shade is better because the previous rendition only came in shade 10 Ivory, I think, which was darker than this, and I feel this shade is a better match for me. And finally, I always try to, at least in the past few months, I've been trying out new foundations as part of my Shop My Stash. And the one that I'm currently trying out is the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Foundation. I have this in I have this in 2 Fair, and I love the shade match of this. It's very often once foundations get into the paler end of the spectrum, if they do paler shades, they can look a little weird and sickly on me. But this still has a little bit of warmth in it, making it look pretty good on me. It's a really nice lightweight texture. I'm actually really enjoying the look of this. I've worn it to dance classes. I've accidentally kept it on my face as I was working out and it still worked well. And for a lightweight, more dewy foundation, that's quite a feat because most dewy foundations don't do that. So the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder has crept up the list of like favorites. I also want to talk about some foundations that don't really work for me, sadly. And both of these don't work for me because they are too dark. They are both drugstore foundations, and it's the Rival de Loup Hyaluron Makeup in shade 01, yeah, 01 Porcelain. And this is just, it's about 5 shades too dark, but it's the lightest shade that this brand does. This is a German drugstore brand, and it was sent to me by a subscriber. I cannot purchase this myself, but she bought it for me because she was like, I think you'll like the texture, but I'm aware that it may be too dark for you. But she said I could still try it. It's nice enough. I really like the texture of this. It's just way too dark and I can't wear it. And the same goes for this, guys. Sadly, a really good drugstore foundation. This is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Foundation. This is in Porcelain L1. Now there is another shade on the market called Shell, I believe. However, yes, it's not for sale in the Netherlands. We got Flower Beauty last year, but the Netherlands is kind of like makeup desert, you could say, because there are quite a few brands that even if they have a shade range that is a little bit more inclusive, the shades aren't for sale where I live. So I cannot, because Flower Beauty I cannot buy online because it is a drugstore brand. So I actually physically have to go to the UK to be able to buy that lighter shade. And I kind of pulled it out of my declutter because I was like, I love the texture of this stuff so much that I do want to keep it around. I'm actually considering hunting down like lightning drops so I can still pull it off because that's how much I like it. So when it's a drugstore foundation, I don't really mind if the shade range isn't that great. However, when we get to these kind of price points, like the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude Foundation, then I do take issue. This is quite an expensive, but a very, very lovely, lovely dewy foundation that I had to buy from Look Fantastic, who ships from the UK, because the shade I needed, which is shade 1.5, isn't sold here. They start at number 2. And there are like, what, 3 or 4 lighter shades? But this foundation range also doesn't go very light or very deep, I should say. They seem to have a lot of mid-tone shades, and that's about it. So I don't get it, what they're going for here. You're too expensive to be able to get away with that, Giorgio Armani. But I love, love, love this product. More shoddy shade ranges then. The Catrice Clean ID, what's this called again? High Cover Luminous Matte Foundation. So something that I'm seeing a lot of brands do, and that's why I wanted to try this, are these dewy, lightweight foundations that have like a soft matte or glowy matte finish. And I'm then curious to see, will that work on my dry skin? This worked actually okay texture-wise, but this only comes in 4 shades. I've got the lightest one, which is 004 Light Almond, and it's just not a great match. It's a little bit too orange. During the like late spring, early summer when I was testing this out, I could just about get away with it. And what I actually feel, not about the shade range, but texture-wise is quite similar to that Catrice one, is the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Skin Tint. I have mine in the shade 1, and it is perhaps a little bit too pale for me. I thought that maybe I had to get shade number 2, but Fenty Beauty has a pretty good shade matching system on their website that I used to decide which one to buy. And because I have this Fenty Beauty foundation in shade 120, and they recommended buying shade 1 if you had another Fenty Beauty foundation in shade 120, I bought this in shade 1, and I feel it's just a little bit too light for me. I think I can get away with this in the winter time for sure, when I'm a little paler, and I did like the texture of it. I don't think it's my favorite skin tint though, because I want my skin tints to be glowier, and this has more of a matte finish. If you have oilier skin, you might like this even more. I do think it's a good product. I like it, and I definitely like it better than this. So let's talk about this guy next. And this is the Fenty Beauty, what's this called again? The Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear Foundation. As I mentioned, I've got it in shade 120. It's a beautiful foundation on. It just doesn't stay put. This transfers like there's no tomorrow. If you try to like kiss someone on the cheek, they're gonna have foundation all over them. You're wearing a scarf or a high neck sweater, you're gonna be covered in foundation, and it doesn't really settle down ever on my skin. And I've got pretty dry skin, so especially if you have oily skin, stay away. Maybe if your skin is super duper parched and dry, it might work on you. Also on the declutter pile is my Milani Conceal and Perfect in the shade 00A Porcelain. This is, I think, my only full coverage foundation. Like I said, the All Hours is as full coverage as I get, as I go. And it's not truly full coverage, I feel. This is more heavy duty, which is why I kept it around, again, because I was going to do a full face of Milani. But then I bought this guy, which kind of replaced it for me. However, the Milani line also really struggles with doing shades that are light enough. So that's why I also kept this around, because shade range wise, this works for me a lot better than this one does. This is a little bit too orange. I get to that in a minute. But yeah, the Conceal and Perfect, just, I don't need anything this long wearing, this full coverage. It's just not me. So let's then chat about this. The Milani Glow, what's this called again? Hydrating Skin Tint in 110 Fair to Light. This isn't a fair shade. I wish they did a shade lighter than this. Then it would have worked a lot better. Again, when I filmed that video, when I put this on my face, it was the summertime. It did work for me then, but this is again on the very deeper end of the spectrum of what I can get away with. This is definitely a more summer shade for me. Another shade I struggle to find in the Touche Éclat line from YSL. This has a bit of a story behind it. It's on my blog, so I'm not going to be too much of a broken record here, but I bought this online during lockdown, not knowing what shade to get. I bought the same shade as I have in the All Hours, thinking, I hope that's okay. So this is BR20 as well. However, luckily for me, where the All Hours oxidizes into a darker shade, this oxidizes into a lighter shade. Let me put them side by side. Because if you put these together, I think you can see how much darker this one is. But they both work on me. And I actually put a side-by-side swatch in my review of the Touche Eclat. And then you can see on the back of my hand, one's blended in. This is the glowier version of this. Let's talk about the Essence Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation. I have this in the shade 020 Neutral Alabaster, and this is the Essence foundation I keep around for a full face of Essence. I tend to do a lot of Essence and Catrice content, so if they do a new range and there's no new foundation, I always like to keep a foundation from these brands around so that if I film videos, I always have something. And this is my Essence pick because A, I love the texture. B, it's got a good shade range. For once, Essence has a good shade range. And it's just a really, really lovely texture. This is probably the best foundation I've seen Essence do in a long, long, long time. And my favorite Catrice foundation, as I already mentioned, I think the True Skin has now replaced this, but for years it's been this guy. This is the Catrice HD Liquid Radiance Foundation. What shade is this in again? 005 Ivory Beige. And this they only did for a hot minute. This wasn't even released globally. They do the HD liquid foundation, which is black writing on it. They still do that. This red version, no longer for sale. They only did it for like 1 or 2 seasons, but it's the best foundation Catrice has ever done. And another product that I don't think you can still get is the Catrice Clean ID Hydro BB Cream. This is in the shade Light. This only came in 2 shades. So the shade range was absolutely terrible, but it was a good BB cream. So, because I do like a BB cream and it was from Catrice, I decided to keep it around. And now I'm like, do I still need this? I don't know, because if I were to go for a BB cream, I go back to my OG, I think this is the 3rd tube I've repurchased, of the Misha, what's this called again? Perfect Cover BB Cream in shade shade 21. That's the shade I've got. If you want to go BB cream, go Asian, go Korean. This is a Korean makeup brand. I've not tried that much else from Misha apart from this BB cream. And this is the thing that made me wear foundation. For years, I was doing makeup, but I refused to wear foundation. And this product, it's a holy grail for a reason. This product made me realize that covering up my redness can make my makeup look a little bit better. And this also made me realize that there are base products out there that don't break me out, that don't give me an itch or a rash, because that was my experience with a lot of foundations that I was trying like more than a decade ago. We're talking here when I first got into makeup. But this is the product. Shall we talk Kiko? Let's talk Kiko for a minute. So I've got 2 of their foundations. This is brand new to me. This I've owned for a while, but I have yet to review both. However, I do have 2 full face of Kiko videos up on my channel. So if you want to see how these go on, then I can link you to those. Maybe if I think I have a full face of playlist, so I'll link you to that, because then again, you can see a lot of these things going on, because then I always have a foundation to try. So this is the Insta Moisture Foundation from Kiko in shade 1R, and this is a really, really lovely foundation. It's exactly, again, what I want. And that's why I've sort of been holding off of trying this more, because I just know I'll fall in love with it and I won't want to stop using it. That's my prediction. And like I said, this is brand new to me. This is their Precious Rituals Velvet Flawless Vegan Foundation in shade 01. I believe it was also called Porcelain. Kiko doesn't always put the shade name on their products, which is a bit annoying. This is really lovely. It was just very confusing because the website said this was going to be matte, and then the box said it was going to be hydrating dewy, and when I put it on, it was hydrating dewy. So this is a little bit of a different one, but I feel it kind of goes into that skin tint kind of category for me. It was really, really lovely when I wore it. So let's talk some OG stuff, because it's lying over here. There's 3 foundations right here in the center that I have bought years ago that I just loved. And these things made me realize how much I like these very lightweight, dewy, kind of sheer, tinty kind of textures. However, these were out when full coverage was all the rage, and I had really, really big problems trying to find anything I even liked. So this is the Chanel Le Beige Sheer Healthy Glow Tinted Moisturizer. This is in the shade Light. I believe it was the lightest shade they do. And this is what I repurchased after using up my Vita Lumiere Aqua foundation. Who remembers that raving? Like, everybody was raving about that. But then the full coverage hype happened, and I really struggled finding something I liked. And then I saw that Chanel brought this out, and it was completely up my street. And I was like, yes, I want that. And in a similar vein, the Clinique Even Better Glow Light Reflecting Makeup in the shade CN28 Ivory VF. I'm not sure even what that stands for. This looks a bit dark in the bottle, but I find that it works really well, and this is actually one of my most viewed reviews over on my blog. This is another contender that once I've used up some other foundations, this is one that's gonna go onto the use up pile. The Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Water Fresh Makeup in the shade 1N0 Porcelain. Really good shade match. Again, that very watery texture, just really annoying that's how it works. So that's the only reason why I don't love this. It doesn't have any sort of lids or pumps or whatever. So that's why it's a bit of a hassle to use, but I love the texture. However, this was discontinued and replaced by this, the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue Moisturizing Makeup. I have mine in the same shade, 1N0 Porcelain. This is much darker than this. So where I feel that this is much better for me, this is actually a little bit too dark, but I can still make it work. It is more of a spring-summer shade for me for sure. It is a very different texture. This is much more that It Cosmetics CC cream kind of texture, you could say, where it's a little thicker and creamier and not as watery as this. However, I feel they give a very similar effect once I put them on my skin. I've condensed it down because we're nearly there. We're nearly there. I've got some more foundations to chat about with you. I've got some Dior. And Dior does some really, really good foundations, you guys. Again, shade range-wise, I sometimes struggle to find my shade in Dior. Again, a brand that doesn't sell all their shades in the Netherlands, unfortunately. However, in both of these, I was able to find every single shade. This guy, the Backstage foundation in 0N. Really, really good thing. And this I love to travel with because it's got plastic packaging. It's not messy. Nothing can break. I love traveling with this stuff, and it's such a great, just everyday foundation. You can just whack this on. It looks great every single time. It is a little bit more expensive, but you do get 50 mils of product in this, so that's more than a standard foundation size. And then I tried this, the Forever Natural Nude Foundation in 0N, and this is newer to me, so this is one that I still need to put in a Shop My Stash to really give it a good try and review it, but my first impression was pretty decent. I just wanted to try another Dior foundation because I like the other one so much. Speaking of a richer texture that my skin loves when it is super duper dry, the Urban Decay Stay Naked Hydromaniac Tinted Glow Hydrator in the shade 10 Ultra Fair. It's not ultra fair. I thought the shade of this was a little on the deeper end. I could do with a hair lighter perhaps, but I love the texture of this. I think I tried it like smack in the middle of winter. I used this over the Glossier Future Dew. Yes, an oil-based primer, or like a more oily primer. For the ultimate glowy look, I absolutely adored it. Those two products went together like no tomorrow. I really like the look it gave me, and this is a really nice one. It's the best base product, safe for the naked skin. I'm not gonna lie, that's still their best foundation they ever did, but this is a good base product from Urban Decay for sure. An OG true match from L'Oreal in the shade 1N. I kind of keep it around because it is one of those foundations with a perfect shade match. That's why I keep this. It is a very nice lightweight texture. I do think this is getting a little bit old though, and I don't really think about this anymore. I think that this is the kind of foundation that I really liked a couple of years ago. This is when, for me, foundation ranges and foundation shade ranges started to really change for the better, and it's just a good bog standard everyday foundation. It's not something I reach for because I've tried so many new things now that I'm like, do I still need this? Maybe I don't. But this is a lovely foundation if you're looking for a drugstore option. And then two things that are quite new to me. Actually, one of these I haven't even tried on my face, but the Nabla Skin Realist Skin Tint is one that I still need to really put to the test. So this still needs to go into a Shop My Stash. I did try it in my full face of Nabla and I was pretty impressed. I think there's a bit of a divide where some people love the skin tint from Fenty, the Eavesdrop, who don't love this. And there are people who love this who then don't love the Fenty one. And I think I'm skewing Nabla, but I'm not entirely sure yet, so let's see. And then the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. So I was a bit unsure about this one. What shade do I have this in? Fair 120. Oh, what shade do I have this Skin Realist in? It's in shade 1 Fair. It is a bit dark, I do have to say. But yeah, the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream, I've heard really mixed reviews about it. Some people love it, some people don't. And I was like, I saw it in store, I was like, I can try that. That seems interesting. I love trying e.l.f. products, so I thought we could chat about that in a future video, but this is not going to go onto the to try pile until, I don't know, 2 or 3 months from now or so. But yeah, this is the newest addition to my foundation collection. And then these guys, my only stick foundation, the Hourglass, what is this thing called? The Vanish Stick Foundation in the shade Alabaster. I do really like this, but I think it's getting a bit old. But it is quite rich and creamy in texture, so again, more of a winter product for me. And I think that maybe this winter I should commit to trying to see if I can use this guy up as well. So I've got a couple of older products and I'm like, yeah, I need to get to it and really use it up. And then we've got one again that I haven't tried a lot, which is the Luminous Silk from Giorgio Armani. I have this in shade 3. And this one does have a really good shade range where I live. So I was able to pick this up on store, which was great. I tried it and I fell in love. I completely get what the hype is about. I'm not entirely sure yet whether it's going to be my favorite foundation ever, whether like the Charlotte Tilbury, it's really like climbing the ranks of favorites territory quite quickly. I've yet to put this in a Shop My Stash as well, so that's gonna happen soon. And then the OG favorite, the NARS Sheer, what's this called again? The Sheer Glow Foundation. I have this in Light 2, which is Mont Blanc. I did add the pump because it doesn't come with a pump, which, like the Estee Lauder, really bugged me, so that's why I did it like this. I put this in a Shop My Stash last year because I actually thought I didn't like it. Then I tried it again, and I fell in love. So this is one that I do really like, love the shade match, really like the way this sits on my skin. It is more of a medium coverage for me. It's not sheer or glowy per se. This is about as mattifying as I like to go. And this is how we're gonna end the video, with a view of all of my fine foundations packed away into their little acrylic organizer from IKEA. This is in their bathroom section if you're looking for it. This is how I store all of my makeup in these acrylic organizers in my drawers. And this is what it all looks like, the whole shebang, the whole gang together. So thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope it was helpful for me to just chat about these. Like I said, there will be loads of links in the description box down below if you want to have a closer look at these, see what these look like on. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video today. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, so hope to see you in my next video. Bye!